Here are 3 underrated serves that you need. If you start using these 3 serves more frequently in your league matches and in competitions, then you're going to create a load more opportunities for yourself. Now, these are more simplified skills, but if they're used in the right place with the right technique, they can be incredibly effective. Let's get stuck into the first one. Now, often we're trying to create lots of spin, lots of deception, lots of movement on the table, and sometimes we neglect that no spin serve. And it's a great serve to use, and often I forget to use it as well. Your opponents start to expect these big extravagant spins, and suddenly we pop in this float ball or a no spin ball, the ball pops up, and then we've got our chance to win the point. So how do we get a no spin serve? What do we need to do? Well, to create spin, we want good acceleration and a nice light contact on the ball. So to get no spin, we want to try and hold back that acceleration. So whilst the wrist might move back, we don't want it to accelerate, we just want it to move forwards. That, combined with a contact in the center of the racket, with a nice thick contact too, will help create our no spin serve. And a good indication that we've created the no spin is that the ball is going to carry on traveling forwards as it hits the opponent's side of the table. Whereas if we accidentally caught the ball too thin, we're going to see a reaction on the table and the ball's going to come back to us. Now, the best tip I have for this serve is squeezing the racket really hard. When we squeeze the racket, that fixes our wrist and that limits how quickly our wrist can move. And remember, we don't want the wrist to move in this scenario. We don't want it to move quickly because we're not trying to impart spin. So by squeezing your fingers really hard, it ends up fixing the wrist, and then it becomes really difficult to accelerate. So for spin, we might relax the wrist a little bit more, and then there'll be this tightening on contact, but this time we're squeezing before contact. So squeezing the racket, nice thick contact, aiming for the center. If we can do those things, we should get our no spin serve. This next serve is the long fast serve, but not just anywhere. We need to aim for this crossover point here. So that point where your opponent doesn't quite know whether to take it with the backhand or the forehand. We're sometimes a little bit too fixated on their backhand's weaker or their forehand's weaker, whereas most people have a weakness into their hip. So we need to exploit it more often. So long fast serve, we know that it's got to be really low. We want to make contact really close, and we're going to be hitting the back of the ball. Now, for me to execute this against a right-handed player, their crossover point is likely to be to the right-hand side of the center line as I'm looking at it, to the left of the line as you're looking at it. Now, because I'm playing this with pendulum side spin, that means that my aim needs to be more in towards the center, and I need to allow for the swing of the side spin to take effect. So mentally, I'm thinking about the middle, and then my side spin is going to take it off. Now, of course, the crossover point is not a position on the table. We need to bear that in mind. If I'm stood all the way over here, then this is my crossover point. If I'm more of a backhand player and I'm trying to cover more of this half with my backhand, now my crossover point is here. It's now this side of the center line. So it's going to depend a little on the style of the player, whether they're left-handed or right-handed. So we have to be aware of who we're playing, where they're stood, what their tendencies are to make this as effective as we can. So this is a great way for me to focus on the accuracy of this serve. The container to your right is almost mimicking somebody stood in this position here. So this is their crossover point. And the second one is where someone stood slightly further over. So that's what I'm trying to visualize whilst I'm practicing this. I'm not too concerned with what type of spin that I'm serving with. I'm just trying to get the ball really quick, really deep, and of course that element of side spin. But if I'm catching it with a little bit of top spin, a little bit of back spin, I'm not too concerned with that at this point. Just can I find the right position? One down, see if I can get the second one. And even when I'm not hitting those, I'm making some really good contacts around the table. I'm still practicing really good quality. So whilst we all want to hit the targets that we set, if we're getting close, we're constantly improving our accuracy of the serve too. So crossover point where they're changing from backhand to forehand, keep an eye on them. Are they left-handed, right-handed? Are they looking for their forehand? Are they looking for their backhand? And take advantage of that accurate positioning. And this third serve, probably the most effective one, is with the backhand, and it's a short topspin serve into the right-handed player's forehand return. Generally speaking, most people are weaker into that forehand position. We don't often have the same amount of control when our wrist is in this compromised position as opposed to when the wrist is forwards. So getting that element of side spin and top spin is going to force this position a little bit more. It's quite hard for them to keep it short too, and therefore we get our chances. So what do we need to do with this serve? For me personally, I like to stand this side of the white line, of that center line. I have my right leg forward, that opens my body right up. That gets me facing where I want to serve. So my racket goes underneath my arm. As I come forward, I'm trying to aim in the center. And then there's this pull upwards, which is going to create the side spin and the top spin. Now I'm trying to take this ball nice and low. I want the ball to be low over the net. Topspin tends to want to bounce forwards and upwards. So if I take the ball too high, I end up getting a high delivery, and that's going to create a chance for my opponent. So I need to make sure that the contact is quite low, and then that first bounce is going to be in the first third of the table, maybe up to halfway, and that's going to help me keep my two bounces too. And it's not a bad thing. If we get that ball just bouncing off the side, it can be a really tricky thing for people to deal with. If it's just to the side, there's no clear way to create a strong topspin. If it's too far wide, then there's a clear opportunity for them to attack. If it's really close, dropping off the side, then it's quite tough to get a full swing. So if it's not two bounces, just off the side is absolutely fine. That was very good. And the angle to this serve is quite important. So I'm not creating the topspin from behind the ball here. That makes it more obvious, and that's also going to make the serve much longer. Instead, it's this sort of angle here where I'm almost pulling the racket back towards me slightly. Okay, so serving doesn't always have to be complex. Sometimes it's the simple strategies that can work best. Don't neglect these underused tactics and skills. Be sure to give them a try in your leagues or your next competition, and let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one. In this video, we're going to look at, then you're going to create a load more opportunities for you to Your opponents start to, hell.